friends, Andrea here with a new video for Hip Kid Club. Today is Mixed Media Monday and I'll be working on a big letter. We're gonna be decorating a big letter, 13 inches tall by 12 inches wide, and there will be lots and lots of mixed media involved, and we're also going to incorporate these fringed pieces. So I know that last week we used a couple of rolled flowers from the ones that we got on the January kits, but the challenge for those for me were as practice, because the challenge for this week was to really incorporate them. So that's why you see me taking those paints out. They worked really well last week, and I decided I was going to use them again, and this time I will be showing you how I painted them. So I'm right now sorting flowers and leaves, and we're going to start by painting the leaves first. So I will be mixing some of the Lindis powders. Last week I used the Nubo powder, but this week I will be mixing some blue Lindis powder and some shimmer paints, or another, I think a different Lindis powder. So blue and yellow goldish, in order to get some green. And when you add these powders or this paint onto the paper, it soaks the paint immediately. So it is, the good thing though is that it is such a thick paper that you can add lots and lots of water. So just keep in mind that when you're adding the paint, it will take lots of it, but also be careful with the color if you want to add shades. So our leaves are ready now. We're gonna clean our mat and get ready to bring those flowers and start mixing some of Shimmer's paints. Okay, so I know from last week, from applying this color paint to our cut file, that this paint is really dark, so I decided to apply more water to it. And this time, I know last week these flowers I only painted them on one side, but this week we're gonna do it on both sides by adding more water to them. Even though we know that this paper is really thick, it's gonna make it easier for us to fold all of them, to glue them together, and once we fold them, the back side of the flower will also have some color, and that's just in case, depending on the angle that you end up looking at some projects, you want to make sure that you keep in mind every single detail of the project. And I know that if we end up hanging this on a wall, or by the way, this letter is for my daughter. Her name is Wen, so that's why the W. So if we end up hanging this on the wall or on the door, I want to make sure that it doesn't matter where you are looking at the flowers from, or where you're standing, or what side of the flower you're looking at, you are able to see color everywhere. So I have to confess that I wasn't sure. I've never seen this shape of flowers, of rolled flowers, and especially going from being super big to tiny at the bottom. So at this point, I'm coloring all the flowers, and I'm planning on including as many of them, but I still don't know how they're really gonna look like. I do know that my W is big enough to handle this. Now, I also wanted to incorporate to use the stencil. So that's what I'm doing here. So this letter is gonna have 3 layers. We're gonna add the French cardstock piece we're gonna add now the stencil here, so a pattern, and then the top of it, it's just gonna be white. So it will be super easy with the cardstock. We start getting a little bit of the white with this stencil and the paste, and then we end up with white, just so we don't load the entire letter with stuff. Remember that we also need to keep the flowers there. Okay, so I'm mixing these. As I said, these Nouveau embellishment mousses are from previous kits from 2020, and now I am just applying it directly on the letter. And the only thing I want to keep in mind is I don't want to go on the other side just yet, because I want to make sure that I follow the pattern on the entire letter. So for me, it's going to be easier at this point to, even having my left side wet, to jump onto the right side, work on that stencil. Just make sure that you clean it on the back side, on the side that is actually in direct contact with the letter, but you don't really need to clean the stencil every time you use it, at least on the front part. Make sure, though, again, you clean it on the back side so you don't have any issues with your pattern. Okay, here I'm using this washi tape to make sure that, again, I don't go to the left side, but I forgot to remove it on this right side of the stencil. So you'll see that there is one part missing, which it does not represent a problem right now, because that's the area that I will be covering with the cluster of flowers. Here we go, and you see that there is just like one line missing. You see me coming back here with the stencil, but I did wait, okay? So there was a gap of approximately, I don't know, maybe 15 minutes that I just waited and wanted to make sure that the paste was, or that the mousse was dry on the other two sides of the letter. Not sure if you can see that, but I did not remove the washi tape. So we will have to also cover that. Yep, we do not need, or I do not need that gap there. So I just try to match it. I did not wait here. It was still wet, so I just tried to place the stencil on the right place. I was very, very lucky not to cause any major damage. But I will recommend you to wait and make sure that if you're going to overlap the stencil, don't do it onto wet paint or paste or embellishment mousse. Okay, so the first one I skipped the process, but here we go. I'm using hot glue. This is one of the big flowers, and I'm adding the glue on the edge. I always start folding these flowers from the outer edge all the way to the top, and then that last bit of it, it's what I place right under the roll as a base. It's just a different kind of flower, and I ended up loving these ones because the fact that they're not all the same. In there you see me playing with them, just making sure that I can tuck them in and still be able to create a nice cluster when we get to that part. With these kind of flowers that end up being so tall, you do end up seeing really both sides of the petals. So it's great that we colored both sides of the flower. Now, rolling them, again, I think I mentioned this in the beginning, rolling the flowers, it's easier now. And even folding the top of the petals to get the right shape on the flower that we want, it's easier now that we ended up applying so much paint and so much water on the paper. Also, you don't necessarily need to roll them and make them so tight. This is just the way I like to fold the flowers. You can also, I think, Nisi used these flowers in one of her first projects using the January kits. She actually folded starting from the opposite end, and they ended up looking really amazing. And it's just all the possibilities that you get, not just because I'm telling you, hey, I fold every single flower starting from the outer edge, or I make them super tight, just because you feel free to try to combine, to mix and match styles and things that you think you would like, just so you can get the feeling of how working with different mediums and actually following different steps can give you completely different results. Okay, so here comes the step of adding the fringe edges. So I'm cutting them, I'm adding it on one side of the letter, then the next, just so I don't have to use the whole roll. I try to cut the excess with scissors, and then I realize the X-Acto knife will give me better results, or it'll just be easier. And for this project, I did use not all. I think I have used 2 of these fringe pieces before, so I ended up using the rest. But this is basically what realized that I didn't remove the double-sided tape on the edge. That's why you see me fighting it a little bit. And then same story. Flip it over, we cut the excess, and there we go. And I just repeated this process as many times as needed. Separate pieces that kind of match, and I knew that the one on my right will end up being mostly covered by the cluster that we're going to create. So not a big deal. They're both kind of purple, so goes well. And you see that here there are 2 layers that I'm cutting at the same time. You could definitely go ahead and do that, like stick all the layers and then just remove the excess in just one time. So now the fun part. This is the part that I always the clusters. And I enjoy it even more when these clusters involve the 3D flowers or folded flowers, and it is the same. And you kind of saw some of the process on how I built this one, how I put them, these clusters, how I put them together. It is the same thing that we did on our video from last week. You just make sure that you place one flower, that you have enough space or texture dimension to play with, not leaving any gaps between flowers, making sure you have some taller or bigger flowers than the rest, so it's easy to build the cluster. Play with some of the embellishments. Also feel free to add photos if you are decorating one of these big letters. A photo makes sense. This one I just meant to be a piece for decoration for her room. We're still not sure where she wants to place it, so it'll be either the door or just have it on her either nightstand or a dresser or bookshelf. We're still not sure where is it gonna go. And we are almost done, just adding the last few pieces. These are from the die cuts. I think a couple, just one sticker, a phrase that we'll add. Yeah, the small orange smile sticker will be right there, right next to the orange flowers, and here it is. It sounds, and it might be a little bit of a time-consuming project, mainly because you do have to manually work on each one of the flowers, but apart from that, it's just the same, following the same processes and the same steps that you would follow if you're working on a layout. This is just a different canvas that we are working with. But I think it ended up looking really, really cute. So this is all from me today, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope it gives you ideas on how to get creative and put together pieces that are other than layouts, or how to incorporate some of these techniques into your scrapbook layouts. I believe this week all the kits will start shipping, all the February kits. Make sure you grab your favorite kits, all the add-ons and everything that you need and want to create beautiful projects in the upcoming weeks. I will leave all the information below where to find the kits, and also all the links for you to check the rest of the projects for the day up on the blog and the Facebook group. I hope you guys have a wonderful week and a wonderful rest of your day. This was Andrea for Hip Kit Club. I will see you next time. Bye bye.